Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about the role of supply chain management in business operation in this video. So exactly we'll understand what is the importance of supply chain management and how does it contribute to the profitability of business. So what exactly is supply chain? It's a network of external supplier, internal processors and probably the external distributor and thereby the links connecting them that deliver a finished product or service to the customer. Now, this is what encompasses the supply chain. Again, just for your understanding, remember it's all about the external supplier, perhaps the vendor I'm talking about it, internal process as in the process methodology and the steps that has been taken, external distributor as in the again the external vendors in this case down the line the external supplier might be up the line and this one will be down the line kind of scenario that links and connecting them to deliver the company's product or company services to the end customer, and that is what supply chain is all about it. So basic pick of supply chain is been in your screen. You can view it. If you look in up the line is where we are talking about the raw material component, right? This is what the up the line, and the down the line would be a finished product or the customized product that comes to the consumers. Here is the consumer that comes around it. So what exactly we are looking into it? We are looking for raw materials. We're looking for components. We are going to ship the schedule, the items, the quantities, and there comes the manufacture or the basic flow of process that comes around it. Now, once you are manufacturing the product, it needs to be shipped to the wholesalers, warehouses, and so and showcases, right? So where do you go on to go around it? But this is how the goods flow. Now this is the direction of the goods that flows around it. And how does the information flows? The information flows will be completely on the top side. As the case comes around here, if we look into it, this is the way we have to understand the information flow, the point of sales or POS data that needs to be permitted. Remember, from the customer end, the information would be flowing around it because they will be giving the valuable feedback. Feedback might be positive, feedback might be negative, which needs to be communicated to the wholesalers and the manufacturers thereby. And accordingly, we're going to continue with this. So supply chain management, what does it entail? It entails making decisions regarding the structure of supply chain, probably coordinating the movement of goods, deliveries of services, and sharing information between them. Remember, the movement of goods is from top to bottom, and the information is from bottom to top, as in from customers to the manufacturer via the wholesalers, and accordingly things will be screwed upon it. So yes, making decisions, coordinating, and providing information is the vital elements of supply chain management, the factors thereby. So what we are looking into it, the customer expectation and the competition. Earlier times during the industrial revolution, all the power was vested upon the manufacturer because they were producing mass goods in mass quantities at the cheapest possible rate. So they had the vested power. But with of late, it has been seen that customers has become finicky. They want customized product towards them. Otherwise, they are not going to avail the services or the product of the company. So that is what we are looking into it every now and then. Globalization is what we are capitalizing on the emerging markets. Information technology, yes, it encompasses e-commerce, internet, EDI, electronic data interface. EDI stands for electronic data interface. The scanning data, the intranet, the government regulations like the trade barriers, perhaps, like the tariffs, perhaps, like the taxes, perhaps. Environmental issues is all about minimizing of the waste that comes around it. So yes, the supply chain factors are plentiful. We have consumer expectations, competitions, globalizations, information technology, government regulations, and environmental. So, what are the various components of types of supply chain? We have the external suppliers who are producing you giving you the raw material. Then we have the internal functions where we are producing our goods or services, and probably this is the external supplier who is the wholesaler, retailer, reseller, as the case might be. And in exchange would be the information that comes around it. Remember, the information is the other way around. So that is the components of the supply chain process. Let's say external supplier. External suppliers provide the necessary raw materials, services, and the component part. Purchase materials and services frequently represent approximately 50% of the cost of goods sold. So COGS is 50%. Remember, that is what we are looking into it. Suppliers are frequently the members of several supply chain, often in different roles. Now, we need to understand this. External suppliers, let's say there might be tier one supplier who directly deals with the material or services to the firm that does business with the final customer. So it is one plus one, and you end up into the customer's hand. But what about tier two supplier? Now these would be suppliers provide materials or services to tier one supplier. So that means one plus one. In this case, there are linkages that comes around it. And then what we are talking about, tier 3 suppliers provide material to that tier 2 suppliers per se. So everything goes into a batch production message, or batch supplying process altogether. Tier 1 suppliers are the one who are actually producing to the manufacturer, who ends up producing the end product, which has been finally be consumed by the consumers. Whereas tier two suppliers would be doing the same thing, but in this case, they would be supplying it to tier one suppliers. Similarly, for tier two, tier three, who would be supplying it for tier two suppliers. Hope this is very much understood by every one of us. Internal function is what we are manufacturing, what we are curating, what we are processing. So varies from industries to industry, varies from company to company, and this might include processing, probably purchasing, probably PPC or production planning and control, quality assurances, and definitely shipping. So these are your internal functions that comes around it. Now, why shipping? Probably packaging is involved. Why quality? Because reputation is involved. Why production planning and control? Probably your batch sizing, your cost control comes around here. We are definitely talking about processing thereby. So logistic and distribution, getting the right material to the right place at the right time in the right quantity, isn't that what we are looking into it? The right material at the right place at the right time and in the right quantity. We are looking for traffic management. We are looking for the selection, scheduling, control of carriers, which might be trucks, which might be rails for both incoming and outgoing materials. Distribution management, the packaging, storing, and handling of product in transit to the end users per se. And that is what we are looking into it. Look at your screen. What have I given it to you? We have been talking about external chemical extraction plant. See what we have drawn around it. From the chemical extraction plant, we are giving raw materials to the chemical plants, chemical with maybe making plastic containers per se, labeling it out. And the external suppliers might be what? They might be supplying me my milk, tier 1 milk, tier 2 milk. Everybody is collecting milk from different dairies altogether, and probably we are processing the milk out here in this firm. What happened with the chemical plant? They come up with the packaging material. This is what we are looking into it. There might be a lumber company who will be actually supplying me the woods, which might be transformed into the papers, which might be covered into a packaging group. Now they all together transform the milk product processing into the packaging operation. Now this is what the packaging operation comes around it. Before it has been really shipped to the resellers or retailer per se. Now this is how the end consumer would be taking or availing milk in the commercial setup altogether, which has been done in the modern day life, and that is what the dairy products would be elaborated for you. Vertical integration, a measure of how much of a supply chain is controlled by manufacturers. We are talking about backward integration. That means we are moving backward to our operation and getting closer to our raw material, probably acquiring raw material sources altogether by ourselves, not depending on a third party or a vendor to provide us with the raw material. Or it can be a forward integration. In this case, acquiring control of the distribution channel. In fact, not only manufacturing product, but we take the leap of faith and ensure that we handle the product finally to the end customers, and we don't want any intermediaries, we don't want any brokerages, we don't want any commission to be pilfered here and there. So yes, this is what a vertical integration is all about. It backward integration, forward integration. Outsourcing, entailing paying of the third party suppliers to provide raw material and services rather than making them in-house. Outsourcing is increasing as many terms as focuses in their internal operation on what they do best, as on when on basis what we are looking into it. So let us understand the difference between insourcing and outsourcing per se. And why should we go for insourcing or why should we go for outsourcing? What are the sourcing decisions to be made? So basically, is the product or probably the service technology critical to the firms? Is it a core part of the process business firm? Is the operation a core competencies? Do you think you have the requisite capital to provide for the capacities, keep the process current, updated? Will outsourcing extend lead times or limit flexibility? You need to answer such questions. Or can other do it for a lot less cost and better quality? Probably somebody might have finishes to it, might be their core competency, their competitive advantages depends upon what they are doing around it. So if you can answer such questions, you will automatically come to the conclusion that whether you should be going for insourcing or outsourcing thereby. So purchasing role of supply chain management. Purchasing role has attained an increased importance since material costs represent around 50 to 60% of the cost of goods sold, COGS. Because look at it, this raw material, the product cost itself costs around 50 to 60% of the cost. Now, what do we do around it? We need to manipulate or cook our profit within the remaining 40 to 50% that's been there. Now, therein, the partaking is about your packaging, your supply chain takes place. How well can we prune down the cost? We need to understand the ethics consideration. We need to understand the supplier relationship. How do we build upon it? We need to determine the optimum number of supplier that is required for the operation of the business and probably thereby developing with business partnership. So industry trend is to a much smaller supplier base. If so, why? If there is a little of too fewer suppliers, how do we go about it? This is needs to be understood by you. Each one of you need to answer such questions. So partnering with suppliers involves long-term mutually beneficial relationship. It requires to share information. Let's say we need to require to share anything and everything, including risk, including opportunities. You have to invest in technology. Probably working together reduces waste, inefficiency, and develop new product. We need to agree to share that gains. Supplier relationship and just-in-time (JIT) often been popularly called as using single source suppliers whenever possible, as on when on possible. The moment we have a single source suppliers, you prune down all your accounting costs altogether. You look all your manpower cost altogether. You are looking for building a long-term relationship, working together to certify a process altogether. This helps you to validate the regulated regulators of the market, perhaps co-locate facilities to reduce transport if possible, stabilize delivery schedules then and there, share cost and other information as on when on basis, early involvement during the product design, if we may say so. The role of warehouse is general warehouses used for a long-term storage of goods, distribution of warehouses, transportation consolidations. We are talking of small deliveries, time lag deliveries. Now, what are we looking into it? Product mixing, product blending, group of multiple items in a various suppliers. If we can repackage it, rebond it, improve services in terms of reducing time to service, allowing for a last minute customization, absolutely last minute customization just to the requirement of the customers. If we can go around it, this is a major role that a warehouse can play in supply chain management. Look at your screen, and this is what I'm trying to go around it. If you look into it, the information until now it has been going around from left side of the screen to the right side, but this case it is through the from the left side it is moving to the right side of the screen as such. This is what needs to be understood then and there. What is happening from customers to retailers, from retailers to local distributors, from local distributors to regional distributors? The information has been passed to the manufacturer eventually. Now customers are moving their requirements, stating it to the retailer. Retailer will only want their business to be enhanced and probably would pass on the information to the local distributors, who might in turn pass it to the regional distributors. Eventually it lands up to the desk of the manufacturer thereby. So information sharing is pertinent. Information sharing means the business is alive and the business will be kicking in due courses of time if you shape your attitude towards the shared information. Supply chain partners can benefit by sharing information on sales demand forecast, inventory level, and marketing campaign. I would love to introduce a term called bullwhip effect for all of you. Please understand, this is one of the terms that plays a major roles of late. What has happened with bullwhip effect is information which gets distorted, information which remains inaccurate. Now everybody is working with one another, right from the raw material suppliers to the manufacturer to the retailer, or let's say from customers to the retailers to the wholesalers to the manufacturer. The flow of information, there is a sequence of things that needs to go around. The goods are flowing from the raw material sources to the end customers via the manufacturer, and the information is flowing from the customers to the warehouse via the retailers and the wholesale. So what goes wrong, and what is bullwhip effect? If the information isn't shared, everyone has to guess as what is going to happen, what is to happen the next time. Guessing wrong leads to either too much or too little of an inventory. Too much if the firm's hold of buying of an until an inventory falls down, leading supplier to think the demand has fallen. Absolutely yes. So I have stocked up a plentiful of goods in my inventory, and as a result, what I'm trying to do around it, I am not pushing any orders or placing any orders with my vendors for the raw materials since my inventory is already stacked up. So what will be the supplier think about? Supplier will think that the business has dried up and let us look for a different client altogether. But in actuality, we are trying to reduce our inventory over a period of time, and probably the business is not gone down. So that means a wrong perception has been ended up in the minds of the vendor. Similarly, if too little inventory is there, firm demands to rush orders more and more. Why? Because they don't want to be caught in the wrong foot on the shot in the future. This gives a wrong impact to again to the vendor. Vendor thinks that the business is booming, absolutely booming, and makes additional allocation, makes investment in a capital infrastructure, and that might backfire eventually. So this is what whip effect is all about, it having the relevant pertinent information at minimum point of time. So short circuit the bullwhip, make information transparent. Use EDIs. EDIs, I've already said, stands for Electronic Data Interchange or Interface, to support JIT or just-in-time supplier replenishment. Use barcodes, electronic scanning to capture and share point of sale data as often as possible, in fact, on a real-time basis. Eliminate wholesale price promotion and quantity discount completely. This will eliminate everything completely. It will make no rooms for any sort of adjustment, and everything would be transparent to all involved. Electronic data interchange, the most common method of using computer to computer links to exchange data between supply chain partners in a standardized format. Benefits include quick transfer of information, reduced paperwork and administration, improved data accuracy and tracking capability thereby. We need to understand integrations of supply chain management. Implemented integrate supply chain management requires analyzing the whole supply chain, starting by integrating the internal function first, integrating the external suppliers through partnership, through joint ventures, having trust building exercises, having long term contracts. And possible objectives of supply chain is to reduce cost, definitely yes, to improve quality, obviously the very reasons for being existing into the business, reducing lead time, inventory, reduce time to market, increase sales, improve data forecasting thereby. With this, I come to an end of this presentation, the role of supply chain management in business operation. I am sure everything has been made absolutely clear for you to understand. Thank you once again.